Premier League time now, and we love betting. We've brought the big man in, the man who destroyed many bookmakers back in October.
Maybe a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's still been a great couple of weeks. But, form is temporary, class is permanent.
That's what they say. Yeah,
absolutely. I'll tell you what else is temporary. That thing.
This thing on my face, which I'm hoping will not only bring awareness and charitable donations, but also a bit of wisdom this week, because I've been stroking it as I've been making my notes.
It's a good look. It's slightly scary when I met you at the train station earlier on tonight. But fair play to you. I'm just too vain, to be quite honest. I run marathons for charity and stuff like that, but
you wouldn't shave the rest of it off, would you? You value that beard too highly.
I just couldn't get. I just couldn't go clean shaven.
Yeah, can't imagine it. Weird.
Yeah, it would be horrible. Anyway, actually the last time I went clean shaven was the night I got dumped with my girlfriend in 2007.
Wow.
Just like a reaction to it. Anyway, but we're deviating.
This moustache brings out so many personal stories in you, Chris.
So thanks, Jen. Anyway, West Brom against Chelsea is the first game we get a tackle. Chelsea best price 66 to 67, which is great. Which the season that Celtic won the European Cup. So thanks Pinnacle for your ridiculous price.
Well, they are bold on Oddschecker though, so you've got to give them that. You've got boldness.
Absolutely. Anyway, we've got to push on. What's the pick here?
Okay, so I've been impressed by West Brom this year, and I wasn't impressed by them in pre-season. I think you and I actually agreed that we thought they would go down this year.
92 shrewd.
You're
shrewd.
Yeah, well, I mean, new manager and everything, but he's done fantastically well, hasn't he, Steve Clarke? And it's probably not his biggest achievement that he's won me over this year. It's more the fact that they've been hugely impressive at home. They've won 5 and just lost the 1, which was against Man City. And frankly, they were really unlucky to lose that. They scored first and obviously conceded a late goal to lose the game. Could have quite easily come away with a point there. Actually, their home record is second only to Man City. And that's really saying something when you think of Man City last year and how imperious they were on their own patch, So they've also scored first in every home game, as I mentioned, that included the Man City game. Won me over completely. And Chelsea, meanwhile, who started the season really strongly, have hit a bit of a dip, haven't they, really? Drawn 2, lost 1 in their last 3 games down. Okay, the defeat was to Manchester United, but I just feel like they're tailing off a little bit, and they do have a bit of a record of having a dip around this time of year.
Maybe the players get involved in November. But you're right, every November they seem to go wrong.
Yeah, something not right there. And one of the stats that I found on the internet, which I thought was really fascinating, was the fact that they've used the least number of squad players of all the Premier League teams. Just 19 players have been used by Chelsea this year. And bearing in mind we're coming off an international break, I think that puts a bit of a strain on their squad. And going to a place like West Brom, where the home side are really confident, can really test these big teams, and they did test Man City. Don't have any doubts about that. I just think it's kind of disrespectful to West Brom that they're 3-1 and better in places. If you're prepared to go for the silly prices we talked about a minute ago, so
202. 67.
That's the exact
price
for
Pinnacle.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Put that thumb down.
I'm just gonna stick with 5 to 6. Good old fashioned 5 to 6 for a double chance on West Brom, effectively laying Chelsea here. That's the way I'm gonna go.
Good shout, and of course they almost got a point against Man City, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
A few weeks ago. So performing absolute credit, and Steve Clarke, I called him completely wrong.
Let's give him a salute.
But absolutely, and you know what? He's Scottish. That's how could
there's a few of those Scottish managers around us.
How did I doubt him? Next up, you've got Liverpool against Wigan. This is, for me, has got the makings of a possible upset. What about you?
Yeah, it could be, definitely. Liverpool not got a great record against Wigan recently, and not got a great record against teams in the bottom half from last year either.
Not got a good record, full stop.
Yeah, it seems that way. And yet, I look at the form table over the last 6. They're 4th.
Really?
How can Liverpool be 4th in the form table? What does that say about the Premier League? Only the Manchester clubs and Chelsea have performed better over the last 6, and they've only won 2 and drawn 4.
Wow.
So if you avoid defeat for 6 games, you're in the upper echelons of the form table.
It's a bad league this year.
So it's just a bizarre league, isn't it? Really, everyone's beating everyone, I guess. So yeah, that really surprised me. I guess also surprising was the fact that they've only beaten Wigan once in the last 7 meetings and have lost twice in that time, including last year at Anfield, where of course it was a big upset.
That's right.
I think Wigan were a bigger price.
But this time last
Yeah,
year,
it probably was. Yeah. Beware the big teams in November, it seems. But yeah, I'm sure Wigan were more like sort of 9-1 that sort of time.
Yes,
There's
yes.
7s here. I still think it's a big price.
Yeah.
Liverpool at 2-1 on just screams lay me, in a totally non-sexual kind of way. But I'm actually looking slightly different here. I'm looking at the goals and lack of them, to be more precise. Looking at some of my stats on my notes here, Liverpool 66% of their home games have gone under 2.5 goals. Wigan 60% of their away games. Neither of them scoring many goals. Liverpool, of course, got those 5 against Norwich, which is a tradition for Suarez to score a hat-trick at Norwich. But other than that, haven't really managed many goals. 14 goals they've got. That's the 12th highest scorers in the league. Wow. Wigan have actually only scored 2 less, but they're the 14th highest scorers. Neither of them particularly impressing, averaging less than a goal a game on their home and away pitches, respectively, here. And there's just a lot for me that points to a bit of a tight, nervy affair after an international break again. 5-4 for under 2.5 goals, bearing in mind those stats. Seems like a really chunky price to me.
Oh, you've got something there, man. That's a great price.
I'm all over it.
That's a big price, there's a Liverpool in 2 short, shocker again. Like 10 to 21, probably a bit more acceptable. 2-7 they were against Reading a few weeks ago. They did win, but it was 1-0.
Exactly.
You expect the same kind of score.
This is the kind of thing I'm expecting.
Absolutely, and I'm a bit harsh on Liverpool. I mean, I like Liverpool. I love the city, and it's probably the best result of the season so far. Against Chelsea last week.
Yeah, absolutely. So and Suarez has obviously got a bit of attention, hasn't he? So
yeah, I tell you what, he's class. He is class
on the pitch.
He is yeah.
Let's move on.
I tell you, an absolute feast of a fixture on Monday night. When Sky sat down and said, well, Monday night football, middle of November, let's get an absolute box office classic. So they chose West Ham against Stoke, obviously. Just a game dripping with glamour. Wow. I've nothing to say in this game.
I think they looked at the defensive records and were thoroughly impressed. Stoke have got the joint best defence in the league along with Man City. And actually it's a better defensive record because they've kept more clean sheets, the most in the Premier League. Wow. West Ham have actually only conceded 1 more goal than Stoke, and they've got the joint second best with about 5 or 6 other teams, including Arsenal, which I'm not sure that says an awful lot about defensive records.
Tough times.
Anyway, basically, Stoke are yet to win away. You always associate them with not being great away from home, and I thought on paper the 19-17 for West Ham looked like a cracking price. But actually, I looked at their form, and I'll read it out to you, Chris, because it's kind of QPR of last season-esque. Win, loss, win, draw, win, loss, draw, win. So basically, they don't like to do 2 results the same back to back. They're hugely unpredictable, and therefore makes me a little bit nervous about backing them even on their home pitch. As I say, both sides got good defences, 8-11 for under 2.5 goals, and for good reason. 82% of Stoke games generally have gone under 2.5 goals, and they're a right miserly bunch, it seems. So for me, that led me to a slightly bigger price in the half-time draw at 11-10. I always think tight games is quite a good one to if unders looks a bit too skinny to have a look at the half-time draw. And actually Stoke have been drawing at the break more often than any other team. 7 of their games have been level at the interval. So 11-10, the more appealing price than the 8-11 for under 2.5.
I like it, yeah. West Ham been on television quite a lot.
Popular side, I guess, yeah.
Old-fashioned side. And just another thing, the fixture list as well after this is pretty horrific. So I think they're up in 6th in the moment on the table, and if they win this, they're cusp of the top 4. But it gets really tough after that and lead up to Christmas. So 3 points is probably necessary here. But you're going for the half-time draw.
I'm going for the half-time draw.
Nice one. Let's leave it there.